Joe Burrow finally finding his rhythm. 501 total yards, 4 touchdowns last week after a bad week one. He's been pretty solid, Tank. Do you think he can continue that against a Browns team that have a below average pass defense? It could be a spot where he could take advantage.
Yeah, the Cleveland defense gives up the fifth most points per game. And that Cincinnati Bengals offense has come to life the past couple of weeks, and I will only expect that trend to continue. They always say, don't go against the trend. And the way that Joe Burrow is feeling right now with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd's balling out, and actually T. Higgins, like this offense kind of reminds me of the Buffalo Bills. Like everyone was wondering what happened to Gabe Davis, and he had that ankle injury, and it took him a couple of weeks where he was just basically out there running wind sprints, being a decoy. And then he got some full practices in, and then he exploded against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought that game was going to be similar for T. Higgins this week. I mean, this past week against the Atlanta Falcons, where it was just an amazing matchup. He started to get some full practices in, so I thought that was going to be his exploding game. Ended up being Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd, but I wouldn't be surprised if T. Higgins breaks out again this week. But regardless of whether it's T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, or Tyler Boyd, I feel like that Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to be hard to stop. And so when you say, oh, Cincinnati -3 at home on Monday Night Football, where they're trying to prove that they're still that team to beat in the AFC, I think they go out and they get business done. Because, like, after looking at the Monday night game with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins, the one thing that disappointed me,
Mm-hmm.
like, sometimes you have to win ugly games, but if you want to show that you're like that team or one of those teams in the conference, sometimes you need to be able to step on somebody's throat and be like, hey, yo, I'm that dude. And like the Miami Dolphins didn't do that. I feel like with the attitude and the swag that Joe Burrow carries himself with, that defense is playing better ball as of late. I believe the Cincinnati Bengals try to come out here and make a statement game against their division rival in the Cleveland Browns, and I believe they get it done.
Yeah, the Bengals finally putting 4 full quarters together. I mean, it was really great to see basically how many weeks into the season, 7 weeks into the season, him finally starting to
Even
look
though
like
they
the Joe
did let
Burrow of
Atlanta
old.
hang around longer than they should have, though. Like Atlanta completing
Mm-hmm.
that huge big play to Demir Bird and then kicking the field goal to make it like 28-17. Like, that's not a good look for that Cincinnati Bengals defense, though. I will say that.
Yeah, no, not at all. Do you think the Browns could take advantage then, Jared, of the Cincinnati Bengals defense, or the Bengals cement themselves in prime time?
I really like the direction this Bengals team's going. I even wore my Bengals shirt today on the show. Look at that guy. Look at that dude. He's ready to go, man. He's roaring and ready to go. So the issue that I have with just running to the window to bet Cincinnati in this game is that it's a primetime game. Everyone is going to be on the Bengals. So I don't see a ton of betting value with the 3 in the hook. You know, the betting value is going to be on Cleveland. But then in my head, I try to walk through the scenarios where Cleveland wins this game or even covers the 3.5. And I don't see a ton of scenarios. I really like the direction the Cincinnati's offense is going in.
Yeah,
52 of the 54 snaps on Sunday against the Falcons were in shotgun. And that is kind of Zach Taylor finally waving the white flag with his stupid, under center offense and saying, okay, Joe, we're going to play to your strengths now. By the way, the 2 snaps that weren't in shotgun were a QB kneel and I think it was a sneak. So again, every meaningful play in the game was played in shotgun for Joe Burrow. That is
yeah,
where he's most comfortable. That's where his numbers have been better throughout the course of his career. But Zach Taylor, stubborn Zach Taylor, kept putting him under center for not only this season, but last season too. Last year, we finally started to see the shotgun become a thing in the second half of the year, and we saw how it ended up. All of the priors we had on the Bengals were wrong, and they made a huge run to the Super Bowl, and maybe some say should have won that game. Now this
yeah.
year, the appendectomy, a lot of issues defensively, injuries early on in the year. We weren't seeing the same Cincinnati team. Now we're starting to see Cincinnati become a force. I'll tell you, this defense playing really well up front. Hendrickson and Hubbard are beasts. This is a really, really good, I think they're the best team in the division, frankly, but we'll see how that shakes out with Baltimore. This is a tough game to bet Cleveland, but the books are going to need Cleveland. Everyone's going to bet the Bengals here. And I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
They've looked really good on both sides of the ball. It's hard to really argue people running to the window to lay it with Cincinnati this week.